Picture this for a moment. Every second of every day, the space between you and the nearest galaxy is growing. Not because anything is moving away from you, but because the very fabric of reality itself is stretching. And here's the mind-bending part that keeps cosmologists awake at night. This expansion isn't happening into anything. There's no cosmic room that the universe is filling up, no pre-existing void it's growing into. It's just expanding into what nobody knows. Welcome back to another journey into the deepest mysteries of existence. I'm your guide through the cosmos tonight, and if you're settling in with a warm cup of tea or finding a quiet moment before sleep, you're in exactly the right place. Tonight, we're going to explore one of the most profound puzzles in all of science, a question so fundamental that it challenges everything we think we know about space, time, and reality itself. Before we drift into this cosmic mystery together, I'd love to know where you're listening from tonight. Are you watching from a cozy bedroom in London at midnight? Or perhaps from a quiet living room in Tokyo as the sun rises? Drop a comment and let me know what time it is in your corner of the expanding universe. And if this exploration resonates with you, a gentle like helps this content find other curious minds floating through the digital cosmos. Now settle in. Let your breathing slow. You don't need to remember every detail or take notes. Just let these ideas wash over you like starlight, gentle and illuminating. What we're about to explore together isn't just a scientific puzzle, it's a doorway into understanding the very nature of existence itself. To understand what the universe might be expanding into, we first need to grasp what the universe actually is. And this is where things get beautifully strange right from the start. For most of human history, we thought of space as a kind of cosmic stage, a vast empty theatre where the drama of existence played out. Stars and planets were the actors, dancing across this fixed backdrop of nothingness. Time ticked along at the same steady pace for everyone, everywhere. Space was just the three-dimensional grid that held everything in place. Then came a physicist with wild hair and a tendency to question everything we thought we knew about reality. Albert Einstein didn't just revolutionize our understanding of space and time, he shattered the very notion that they were separate things at all. According to Einstein's insights, space isn't a passive backdrop. It's not an empty stage waiting for actors to appear. Instead, space and time are woven together into a single dynamic fabric called space-time. And this fabric isn't rigid or unchanging. It's alive, responsive, and constantly reshaping itself in the presence of matter and energy. Imagine, if you will, a vast trampoline stretched tight. Now place a bowling ball in the center. The fabric dips and curves around the weight. Roll a marble across the surface, and instead of traveling in a straight line, it curves around the depression. This gentle curving isn't because some invisible force is pulling the marble toward the bowling ball. It's because the very geometry of the surface has changed. This is how gravity works in Einstein's universe. Massive objects like stars and planets don't pull on other objects like cosmic magnets. Instead, they bend and warp the space-time around them. What we experience as the force of gravity is actually the curvature of space-time itself. We fall toward Earth not because it's pulling us, but because Earth has created a depression in the fabric of reality, and we're simply following the curved path that fabric creates. But here's where it gets even more intriguing. This fabric of space-time isn't just curved by matter and energy, it's also dynamic. It can stretch, compress, twist, and evolve over time. And that's exactly what's happening to our universe right now. The entire fabric of space-time is expanding, carrying everything within it along for the ride. As you listen to these words, take a moment to imagine this. The space between the atoms in your body isn't growing, because gravity and other forces hold them together. But the space between distant galaxies is stretching like a cosmic balloon being slowly inflated. Not inflating into anything, mind you, just inflating. This expansion was first discovered in the 1920s by Edwin Hubble, the same astronomer whose name graces our most famous space telescope. Hubble was studying distant galaxies when he noticed something peculiar. Their light was consistently shifted toward the red end of the spectrum, and the farther away a galaxy was, the more pronounced this redshift became. This wasn't just a quirk of cosmic lighting, it was evidence of something far more profound. The galaxies weren't just sitting out there in static space, they were all moving away from us, and the farther away they were, the faster they seemed to be receding. But here's the crucial insight that often gets lost in our popular explanations. These galaxies aren't racing through space like cosmic speedsters fleeing from some central explosion. They're not moving through space at all in the conventional sense. Instead, space itself is expanding between them, carrying them along like raisins in a rising loaf of bread. Think about that bread analogy for a moment. As the dough rises and expands, each raisin finds itself farther from all the others. But the raisins aren't moving through the dough itself is growing, creating more space between each raisin. From any raisin's perspective, all the other raisins appear to be moving away, with the most distant ones receding fastest. This is our universe. We're one of the raisins, the Milky Way galaxy, floating in an ocean of expanding space-time. Every other galaxy appears to be moving away from us, not because we're special or central, but because space itself is stretching in all directions simultaneously. Now, you might be wondering about something that puzzles many people when they first encounter this idea. Einstein's theory of relativity tells us that nothing can travel faster than the speed of light. It's the ultimate cosmic speed limit, roughly 300 million meters per second. Nothing with mass can reach this speed, let alone exceed it. And yet, when we look out into the deepest reaches of space, we observe galaxies that appear to be receding from us faster than light itself. Some of the most distant galaxies we can detect are moving away at speeds that would make light itself seem sluggish in comparison. How is this possible without breaking the fundamental laws of physics? The answer lies in a beautiful distinction that reveals just how subtle and elegant the universe can be. Einstein's speed limit applies to objects moving through space, but it says nothing about how fast space itself is allowed to expand. It's a bit like being on a treadmill that's speeding up. You might be walking forward at a perfectly reasonable pace, well within your physical limits, but if the treadmill is moving backward faster than you can walk forward, you'll find yourself moving away from your destination despite your best efforts to reach it. In the cosmic version of this scenario, light from distant galaxies is trying to reach us traveling at its maximum possible speed through space-time. But in the most distant regions, space-time itself is expanding so rapidly that the light never makes progress toward us. It's like a cosmic canoe trying to paddle upstream during a flash flood. The river of space is flowing away from us faster than light can swim against it. This isn't a violation of relativity. It's a profound demonstration of the difference between motion through space and the expansion of space itself. The fabric of reality has no speed limit when it comes to stretching and growing. It can expand as rapidly as the laws of physics allow, carrying distant galaxies beyond our reach at superluminal speeds. Take a breath here and let this settle into your awareness. We live in a universe where the very stage on which existence plays out is constantly changing, stretching, evolving. The space between distant galaxies isn't just growing, it's growing faster than light can travel. This means there are regions of the universe we can never see, no matter how long we wait or how powerful our telescopes become. There's something both humbling and beautiful about this realization. We exist in a cosmic bubble of visibility, surrounded by an expanding horizon beyond which information can never reach us. It's like living on an island where the ocean is constantly rising, gradually cutting us off from distant shores we'll never be able to visit. This brings us to the heart of tonight's mystery, the question that has puzzled cosmologists and philosophers for decades. If the universe is expanding, what exactly is it expanding into? When we encounter expansion in our everyday experience, it's always expansion into something else. A balloon expands into the air around it. Bread dough rises within the confines of a baking pan. Water spreads across a floor, flowing into available space. In every case we're familiar with, expansion means growing into a pre-existing container or medium. So when we're told that the universe itself is expanding, our minds naturally reach for the same framework. There must be some cosmic container, some pre-existing void or space that the universe is growing into, right? Some vast cosmic room with the universe expanding like a bubble within it. But here's where our everyday intuitions completely fail us. The universe, by definition, is everything that exists. It's not an object floating in some larger space. It's not a bubble expanding into a cosmic ocean. It is the space. It is the container and the contained, the stage and the play, all rolled into one. This is where the limitations of our evolved brains become apparent. We're creatures that developed on the surface of a planet, surrounded by objects that exist within larger containers. Our intuitions about space and expansion are shaped by millions of years of evolution in an environment where everything has boundaries, where every inside implies an outside. But the universe doesn't care about our intuitions. It operates according to principles that are far more subtle and strange than anything our ancestors needed to understand to survive on the African savanna. Consider this carefully. When cosmologists say the universe is expanding, they're not describing it growing into anything external. They're describing the intrinsic expansion of space-time itself. The metric of space, the very geometry that defines distance and duration, is changing over time. It's not that galaxies are flying away from each other through a pre-existing void. It's that the space between them is literally growing, creating more room where there was less room before. New space is being created continuously, not carved out of some pre-existing material, but emerging from the very structure of reality itself. Perhaps the most famous analogy used to explain cosmic expansion is the balloon model, but like all analogies, it can be deeply misleading if we take it too literally. Imagine the surface of a balloon, with dots drawn on it representing galaxies. As the balloon inflates, the dots move farther apart, not because they're crawling across the surface, but because the surface itself is expanding. From the perspective of any dot, all the other dots appear to be moving away, with the most distant ones receding fastest. This captures something essential about cosmic expansion. There's no center, no preferred point from which everything is fleeing. Every observer, regardless of their location, sees the same pattern of recession. The expansion is uniform and isotropic, the same in all directions from every vantage point. But here's where the balloon analogy becomes treacherous. When we inflate a real balloon, we can see it growing larger within the three-dimensional room that contains it. The balloon's surface expands into the pre-existing space around it. This creates the false impression that the universe must be expanding into some analogous pre-existing space. The truth is more subtle and more mind-bending. We need to imagine the balloon's surface without the three-dimensional space that contains it. We need to think of a purely two-dimensional curved surface that expands without requiring any external container to expand into. This is difficult because we can't truly visualize it. Our brains are wired to think in 3 dimensions, and we can't help but imagine the balloon floating in some larger space. But mathematically, the surface can be described completely without reference to any embedding space. It can have its own intrinsic geometry, its own rules for distance and curvature that evolve over time without needing an outside. Now take this reasoning one step further. Our 3-dimensional universe might be expanding in exactly the same way, not growing into some 4-dimensional container, but expanding intrinsically according to its own internal geometry. The expansion is real, measurable, and profound, but it doesn't require anything external to expand into. As you contemplate this, notice how it challenges some of your deepest assumptions about space and existence. We're so accustomed to thinking of space as a container that the idea of space itself changing, growing, evolving feels almost mystical. But this isn't mysticism, it's mathematics made manifest in the structure of reality itself. There's another layer to this mystery that makes it even more fascinating. When space expands, creating new volume where there was less volume before, what exactly is being created? In our everyday experience, when something expands, it either becomes less dense, spreading the same amount of stuff over a larger area, or new material is added from somewhere else. But cosmic expansion is different. As space grows, the vacuum energy density, the amount of dark energy per unit volume, appears to remain constant. This means that, as the universe expands, new dark energy is being created continuously, not transferred from somewhere else, not conserved in the traditional sense, but genuinely brought into existence as space itself grows. Think about this for a moment. The expansion of space doesn't just create new emptiness, new void for things to spread into. It creates new energy, new potential, new capacity for existence itself. The vacuum of space isn't truly empty. It's alive with quantum fields and virtual particles, and as space expands, more of this quantum aliveness comes into being. This challenges our most fundamental notions about conservation and creation. In our everyday world, energy can neither be created nor destroyed, only transformed from one form to another. But in an expanding universe, the rules are more subtle. Energy can be created if it's balanced by the negative gravitational potential energy of the expansion itself. It's as if the universe is a cosmic bank account, where deposits of dark energy are balanced by withdrawals of gravitational potential energy. The total balance remains constant, but new wealth is being created continuously through the very act of expansion. Some interpretations suggest that this process reveals something profound about the nature of existence itself. Perhaps reality isn't a fixed quantity that's simply rearranged over time. Perhaps existence itself is creative, generative, constantly bringing new possibilities into being through the fundamental dynamics of space-time. This remains speculative territory, far from established scientific fact, but it points toward a vision of the universe that's far more creative and dynamic than the clockwork cosmos our ancestors imagined. As we drift deeper into this mystery together, take a moment to reflect on what this might mean. You exist within a reality that's constantly creating new space, new energy, new potential. The very fabric of existence is creative at its core, endlessly generating new room for possibilities to unfold. There's something both beautiful and haunting about the expanding universe. It creates horizons that can never be crossed, boundaries that exist not in space, but in the very structure of space-time itself. Because the universe is expanding, and because that expansion is accelerating, there are regions of space whose light will never reach us, no matter how long we wait. These aren't regions that are hidden behind some cosmic obstacle. They're regions that are receding from us so quickly that their signals, even traveling at the speed of light, can never bridge the growing gap between us. Imagine standing on a shore where the ocean level is rising rapidly. Islands that are visible in the distance gradually disappear beneath the expanding waters, not because they've moved or been destroyed, but because the medium that separates you from them has changed. Eventually, even islands that exist just beyond the horizon become unreachable, as the rising waters carry them beyond the reach of any boat you might send. This is happening to our universe right now. Galaxies that we can currently observe are gradually disappearing beyond our cosmic horizon. Their light, emitted billions of years ago, still reaches us as a message from the distant past, but the light they're emitting today will never make the journey to our telescopes. It will be swept away by the expansion of space itself, carried beyond our reach into cosmic isolation. There's something poetic about this cosmic loneliness. We exist within an island of visibility in an ocean of expanding space-time. As the universe ages, this island gradually shrinks. Future civilizations, If they exist, we'll see a cosmos that appears smaller, emptier, more isolated than the one we observe today. But here's a curious thought. If space is expanding everywhere, and if this expansion continues to accelerate, what happens to the expansion itself? What is the ultimate fate of a universe where space grows ever more rapidly? Some cosmologists propose a scenario they call the Big Rip. If the expansion continues to accelerate without limit, it could eventually overcome all the forces that hold structures together. First, galaxy clusters would be torn apart. Then individual galaxies would dissolve. Solar systems would be shredded. Eventually, even atoms themselves would be pulled apart by the expanding space between their components. In this scenario, the expansion that began so gently, stretching space on the largest scales while leaving local structures intact, would eventually become so violent that it would tear apart the very fabric of matter itself. The universe would expand so rapidly that it would literally rip itself apart, ending in a final singularity where the expansion rate becomes infinite. This remains highly speculative, dependent on the nature of dark energy and how it behaves over cosmic time, but it illustrates just how profound and mysterious the expansion of space really is. We don't just live in an expanding universe, we live in a universe where expansion itself might be the ultimate fate of everything that exists. As you listen to this, perhaps in the quiet of your evening, consider how this cosmic story intersects with your own existence. You are made of atoms forged in the hearts of stars, assembled into the complex pattern that is your body and mind. These atoms are held together by forces that, for now, are stronger than the expansion of space. But you exist within a universe where space itself is the most dynamic, creative, and ultimately mysterious component of reality. The mystery deepens from here, and we've only just begun to explore the strange territory where physics meets philosophy, where the expansion of space touches the very nature of existence itself. But there's so much more to uncover about this cosmic puzzle, and I promise you, the journey ahead will challenge everything you think you know about reality. If tonight's exploration has stirred something in your mind, you might find yourself fascinated by another cosmic mystery that connects to this one in unexpected ways. There's a story about a brilliant physicist who may have discovered something so profound about the structure of reality that she simply vanished from the scientific community entirely. What she found challenges not just our understanding of cosmic expansion, but the very code that might underlie all existence. That story is waiting for you in She Discovered the Universe's Source Code, then Vanished, a mystery that will leave you questioning the nature of reality itself. Until then, rest well in your expanding universe, knowing that the space around you is gently growing, creating new room for possibilities you can't yet imagine. As you settle deeper into contemplation of this cosmic puzzle, let's explore something that might seem contradictory at first. The mathematics that describes our expanding universe is some of the most precise and elegant ever developed. Yet it's describing something that appears to expand into nothing at all. Einstein's field equations, the mathematical poetry that governs space-time, don't require an external stage for the universe to perform upon. They describe a reality that is entirely self-contained, where geometry itself becomes dynamic. The equations treat space-time not as a fixed arena where things happen, but as a participant in the cosmic dance, bending and stretching according to the energy and matter it contains. Think of it this way: when you read a musical score, the notes don't exist in some separate space called music land. The relationships between the notes, their harmonies and rhythms, create the music itself. Similarly, the mathematical relationships that describe space-time don't point to something existing in a larger container. They are the container, describing a reality that needs nothing external to give it meaning or substance. This mathematical self-sufficiency is both beautiful and deeply unsettling to our everyday minds. We're accustomed to explanations that ground mysterious phenomena in familiar territory. But here, the most fundamental layer of reality refuses to be grounded in anything more basic than itself. The Friedmann equations, which describe how the universe expands over time, contain terms for matter, radiation, and dark energy, but nowhere do they include a term for the thing the universe expands into. The mathematics simply doesn't need it. The expansion is described entirely in terms of how the scale factor of space changes over time, with no reference to any external medium or container. Consider how remarkable this is. Human beings, evolved apes on a small planet, have developed mathematical tools sophisticated enough to describe the behavior of the entire cosmos. And these tools reveal that the deepest questions about existence might not have answers in the way we typically expect answers to work. When you ask, what is the universe expanding into? The mathematics gently suggests that the question itself might be based on a misunderstanding. It's not that we haven't found the answer yet, it's that the question assumes something that doesn't exist, an external space for the universe to expand into. This isn't a failure of science or mathematics. It's a profound insight into the nature of existence itself. Reality, at its deepest level, appears to be self-creating, self-defining, self-contained. It needs no foundation beyond itself, no external justification or container. As you breathe quietly and let this idea settle, notice how it might challenge some of your deepest assumptions about existence. We often think that everything must be based on something more fundamental, but what if the most fundamental layer of reality is simply itself? There's a whisper that fills every cubic centimetre of space, a faint echo from the universe's earliest moments that carries profound clues about the nature of cosmic expansion. This whisper is the cosmic microwave background radiation, and it provides some of our strongest evidence for how space-time itself behaves when it expands. About 380,000 years after the Big Bang, the universe cooled enough for electrons and protons to combine into neutral hydrogen atoms. At that moment, space became transparent to light for the first time. The radiation that had been trapped in the hot, dense plasma was suddenly free to travel across the cosmos. That ancient light has been journeying through expanding space ever since, stretched and cooled by billions of years of cosmic growth. Today, we detect this radiation as a faint microwave glow that permeates every direction we look. It's incredibly uniform, varying by only tiny fractions of a degree across the entire sky. This uniformity tells us something profound about the early universe and the nature of expansion itself. If the universe had expanded into some pre-existing space, we might expect to see evidence of boundaries, edges, or interactions with that external medium, but the cosmic microwave background shows no such features. It reveals a universe that expanded smoothly and uniformly in all directions, with no preferred center and no indication of external constraints. The tiny fluctuations we do observe in this ancient light are thought to be the quantum mechanical seeds that eventually grew into the large-scale structures we see today. Galaxies, galaxy clusters, and the cosmic web of dark matter that connects them all. These fluctuations were stretched by the expansion of space itself, taking microscopic quantum uncertainties and inflating them to astronomical scales. Picture this process unfolding. Quantum fluctuations, smaller than subatomic particles, getting caught up in the rapid expansion of space and stretched across millions of light years. It's as if the universe took its own quantum uncertainty and used it as the blueprint for all future structure. The expansion of space didn't just create room for galaxies to form, it provided the very pattern they would follow. This reveals something remarkable about the relationship between the very small and the very large in our cosmos. The quantum realm and the cosmic scale are intimately connected through the expansion of space-time itself. What begins as uncertainty at the smallest possible scales becomes certainty at the largest observable scales, all through the mechanism of cosmic expansion. As you contemplate this connection, consider how it might reflect something deeper about the nature of reality. The universe appears to be a system that transforms uncertainty into structure, potential into actuality, through the simple but profound process of expansion. Perhaps nowhere is the mystery of cosmic expansion more acute than in our growing understanding of dark energy, the invisible force that appears to be accelerating the universe's growth at an ever-increasing rate. In the late 1990s, astronomers studying distant supernovae made a discovery that shocked the scientific community. Instead of finding that the expansion of the universe was gradually slowing down under the influence of gravity, as most theories predicted, they found that it was speeding up. Something was pushing space apart with ever greater force, overwhelming gravity's attempt to pull everything back together. This discovery earned a Nobel Prize and revolutionized our understanding of the cosmos, but it also deepened the mystery of what the universe is expanding into. If space is being pushed apart by some form of energy inherent to the vacuum itself, what does this tell us about the nature of nothingness? Dark energy appears to have a constant density. As space expands, creating more volume, more dark energy comes into existence to maintain this constant density. This isn't energy being transferred from somewhere else or converted from some other form. It's genuinely new energy being created as space itself grows. Think about the implications of this for a moment. In our everyday experience, energy is conserved. It can change forms but never appears from nothing or disappears into nothing. But in an expanding universe driven by dark energy, this conservation principle becomes more subtle. Energy can be created as long as it's balanced by negative gravitational potential energy. This suggests that the vacuum of space isn't truly empty. It's a dynamic, creative medium that can generate new energy as it expands. The nothingness that the universe might be expanding into isn't passive emptiness. It's an active participant in the cosmic drama, capable of bringing new possibilities into existence. Some interpretations suggest that this reveals something profound about the nature of existence itself. Perhaps reality isn't a fixed quantity that's simply rearranged over time. Perhaps existence is inherently creative, continuously generating new potential through the fundamental dynamics of space-time. This remains speculative territory, far from established scientific fact, but it points toward a vision of the universe that's far more creative and dynamic than previous generations could have imagined. As you sit with this idea, notice how it might change your relationship to the space around you, the air you breathe, the room you're in, the vast expanses between stars. All of it might be participating in a continuous act of cosmic creation, generating new energy and new possibilities as the universe expands. Let's venture even deeper into the mystery by exploring what might be happening at the very smallest scales of space-time itself. According to quantum field theory, the fabric of space isn't smooth and continuous as it appears at larger scales. Instead, it's a seething foam of quantum fluctuations, where virtual particles constantly pop into existence and disappear again in timeframes so brief they challenge our understanding of causation itself. This quantum foam suggests that even empty space is alive with activity. Pairs of particles and antiparticles spontaneously appear from the vacuum, exist for the briefest possible moment allowed by quantum uncertainty, and then annihilate each other and disappear. This isn't speculation or theoretical abstraction. The effects of these virtual particles can be measured in laboratory experiments, most famously in the Casimir effect, where two metal plates placed very close together in a vacuum experience a measurable force due to the quantum activity of empty space. Now consider what happens to this quantum foam as space expands. As the universe grows and creates new volume, it's not just creating empty space in the classical sense. It's creating new regions of quantum foam, new arenas where virtual particles can appear and disappear, new stages for the quantum dance of creation and annihilation. This means that the expansion of the universe is continuously generating new quantum possibilities. Every cubic centimeter of space that comes into existence through cosmic expansion brings with it the full richness of quantum mechanical potential. New opportunities for virtual particles, new possibilities for quantum fluctuations, new ways for the universe to explore the boundary between existence and non-existence. Some interpretations of quantum field theory suggest that this process might be fundamental to understanding what the universe expands into. Perhaps the answer isn't that space expands into some pre-existing medium, but rather that space expands into new quantum possibilities. The expansion creates not just more room, but more ways for reality to express itself at the most fundamental level. This is deeply speculative territory, where physics meets philosophy in ways that challenge our basic assumptions about existence. But it offers a tantalizing possibility. Maybe the universe expands into its own potential, continuously creating new opportunities for quantum events, new ways for the fundamental fields of nature to interact and evolve. Take a breath here and let yourself feel the strangeness of this idea. The space around you, seemingly empty and passive, might actually be buzzing with quantum activity. And as the universe expands, creating more space like the space around you, it's creating more opportunities for this quantum creativity to unfold. One of the most mind-bending developments in modern physics suggests an entirely different way of thinking about what the universe might be expanding into. The holographic principle, which emerges from studies of black holes and quantum gravity, proposes that all the information contained in a volume of space can be encoded on its boundary, much like a hologram encodes a three-dimensional image on a two-dimensional surface. If this principle applies to the universe as a whole, it suggests something remarkable. Everything that exists within our three-dimensional cosmos might be encoded as information on a two-dimensional boundary at the edge of the observable universe. In this view, the expansion we observe might not be the growth of three-dimensional space at all, but rather the encoding of more information on this distant boundary. This is not to suggest that we live in a simulation or that reality is somehow artificial. Rather, it points toward a deep equivalence between information and physical reality. The holographic principle suggests that what we experience as three-dimensional space expanding over time might be better understood as information being processed on a two-dimensional surface. Consider the implications of this for our central question. If the universe is holographically encoded on a boundary, then asking what it expands into becomes a question about information theory rather than geometry. The universe might expand into new configurations of information, new ways of encoding the complexity that we experience as physical reality. This perspective transforms the expansion of space from a purely geometric phenomenon into something more fundamental, the growth of information itself. As the universe expands, it's not just creating more room for things to exist, it's creating new ways to encode the relationships and interactions that define existence. The holographic principle remains speculative when applied to cosmology, and there's no scientific consensus that this is how our universe actually works. But it illustrates how profoundly our understanding of space, time, and expansion continues to evolve. What seems like a simple question about cosmic expansion touches on some of the deepest mysteries in physics: the nature of information, the relationship between quantum mechanics and gravity, and the fundamental structure of reality itself. As you contemplate this possibility, notice how it might shift your perception of the space around you, the room you're in, the air you breathe, the light falling on your skin. All of it might be better understood as information being processed on some distant cosmic boundary. The expansion of the universe might be the universe learning new ways to encode its own existence. Let's explore one of the most ambitious attempts to answer our central question: the theory of eternal inflation. This idea suggests that our observable universe is just one bubble in an infinite cosmic foam, where new universes are constantly being born through a process of endless expansion. According to this theory, the rapid inflation that's occurred in the first fraction of a second after our Big Bang isn't a unique event. Instead, it's a process that continues forever in an underlying inflating space. Most regions of this space continue to inflate exponentially, but occasionally, random quantum fluctuations cause inflation to end in small patches, creating bubble universes like our own. Each bubble universe expands and cools, potentially developing its own physics, its own particles, its own laws of nature. The space between bubbles continues to inflate, creating room for more bubbles to form. This process never ends, generating an infinite multiverse of possibilities. In this view, what our universe expands into becomes clearer. It expands within the larger inflating space of the eternal inflation field. But this simply pushes the question up one level. What is the eternal inflation field expanding into? The theory suggests that this might be the wrong question to ask. Eternal inflation might be a self-sustaining process that doesn't require any external space to expand into. The inflation field could be creating its own space-time as it goes, bootstrapping itself into existence through the physics of quantum fluctuations and exponential expansion. This paints a picture of reality that's almost unimaginably creative and dynamic. Instead of a single universe expanding into mysterious nothingness, we have an infinite cosmos of universes, each exploring different possibilities, each expanding within a larger framework that itself is constantly growing and creating new opportunities for existence. The multiverse concept remains highly speculative, and many physicists question whether it can ever be tested or verified. But it represents one of the most ambitious attempts to grapple with the fundamental mystery of cosmic expansion. It suggests that our universe's expansion into apparent nothingness might actually be expansion into infinite creative potential. This interpretation doesn't definitively answer what the universe expands into, but it reframes the question in a way that might be more aligned with the true nature of reality. Perhaps the universe doesn't expand into something that already exists. Perhaps it expands into something it creates as it goes, building the stage for existence through the very act of existing. As you let this possibility settle in your mind, consider what it might mean for your own existence. If you're part of a universe that's constantly creating new possibilities through its expansion, then you're participating in a cosmic process of endless creativity. The space around you isn't just growing, it's generating new potential for experiences, relationships, and discoveries that haven't yet been imagined. We're approaching something like an answer to our central question, though it's not the kind of answer our everyday minds might expect. The mystery of what the universe expands into is leading us toward insights about the nature of existence itself that are both humbling and awe-inspiring. But there are still more layers to this cosmic puzzle, including a discovery that might change everything we think we know about the relationship between consciousness and the fundamental structure of reality. The story continues in ways that will challenge not just our understanding of cosmic expansion, but our place within the vast web of existence itself. There's a particular kind of vertigo that mathematicians experience when they work with infinity, and it might be the closest we can come to understanding what the universe expands into. Infinity isn't just a very large number. It's a concept that breaks our normal rules of arithmetic and logic, creating paradoxes that reveal the limitations of finite thinking. Consider this. If the universe is truly infinite in extent, then it contains an infinite amount of space, matter, and energy. But infinity plus infinity still equals infinity. As the universe expands, creating more space, more matter, more possibilities, it's not becoming more infinite. Infinity cannot grow larger than itself. This suggests something profound about cosmic expansion. If space is already infinite, then expansion isn't about creating more space in the usual sense. It's about changing the relationships within infinity itself. The metric of space-time is evolving, stretching the connections between distant regions while preserving the infinite nature of the whole. Some interpretations suggest that this reveals a deep truth about the nature of existence. Perhaps reality isn't bounded by our concepts of more and less, growth and limitation. Perhaps existence itself operates according to principles that transcend finite thinking entirely. Take a moment to sit with this idea. The expansion happening all around you might not be expansion in the sense of growth or increase. It might be more like a reshuffling of infinity, a continuous transformation of endless possibility into new configurations of endless possibility. Mathematically, this is described through the concept of cardinality, the mathematics of different types of infinity. There are countably infinite sets like the integers, and uncountably infinite sets like the real numbers. Some infinities are, in a sense, larger than others, even though both are infinite. Perhaps the expansion of the universe is better understood as a transformation from one type of infinite possibility to another. Space might be expanding from a countable infinity of potential locations to an uncountable infinity of actual locations. This remains highly speculative, but it illustrates how the mathematics of infinity might provide a framework for understanding expansion that doesn't require an external container. The beauty of this mathematical perspective is that it suggests the universe might be complete unto itself at every moment, neither lacking anything nor requiring anything external to define its expansion. Infinity expanding into infinity, possibility transforming into possibility, existence exploring the endless landscape of its own potential. As we drift deeper into this cosmic mystery, let's explore one of the most intriguing aspects of our situation. We are observers trying to understand a phenomenon from within the phenomenon itself. We exist inside the expanding universe, attempting to comprehend what it expands into while having no external vantage point from which to observe it. This is rather like being a character in a novel trying to understand what exists beyond the story's pages, or a figure in a painting attempting to comprehend the gallery that contains their canvas. We can develop mathematical models and theoretical frameworks, but we can never step outside the universe to see it from an external perspective. This limitation isn't a failure of science or human imagination. It's a fundamental constraint that might be telling us something important about the nature of reality itself. Perhaps the question of what the universe expands into can only be answered from within the universe, using the tools and perspectives that existence provides to understand itself. Consider how this reflects back on your own experience of existence. You're a pattern of matter and energy that has organized itself in such a way that it can contemplate its own existence and the existence of everything else. You are the universe becoming aware of itself, using tools that the universe itself has created through billions of years of evolution and expansion. This perspective suggests that the expansion of space might be intimately connected to the expansion of consciousness and understanding. As the universe grows and creates new possibilities, it also creates new opportunities for awareness, new perspectives from which to contemplate its own nature. Some interpretations suggest that consciousness and cosmic expansion might be two aspects of the same fundamental process. This remains deeply speculative, with no scientific consensus supporting such claims. But it's worth contemplating how the universe's capacity to understand itself through conscious observers might be related to its capacity to expand and create new possibilities. The questions you're asking right now, as you listen to these words, might be part of the universe's attempt to understand what it's expanding into. Your curiosity, your wonder, your confusion about these cosmic mysteries might be the universe exploring its own deepest nature through the instrument of consciousness. Take a breath and notice how this reframes your relationship to the cosmic expansion happening all around you. You're not separate from this process, observing it from the outside. You're an integral part of it, a way that the universe has developed to contemplate its own expansion and evolution. Let's explore another approach to understanding cosmic expansion that comes from the mathematics of topology, the study of space and shape that's concerned with connectivity rather than specific distances or angles. Topology asks not how far apart things are, but how they're connected, how information and influence can flow between different regions. From a topological perspective, the question of what the universe expands into becomes a question about connectivity. As space expands, new connections become possible between regions that were previously too distant to interact. The expansion isn't just creating more room, it's creating new pathways for information, energy, and influence to flow. Imagine a vast network where new nodes are constantly being added, not from some external source, but through the network's own internal dynamics. Each new node creates new possibilities for connection, new ways for information to flow through the system. The network grows not into some external space, but into its own expanding web of connections. This metaphor suggests that the universe might expand into its own increasing complexity. As space grows, it creates new opportunities for structure, new ways for matter and energy to organize themselves, new possibilities for consciousness and awareness to emerge. The topology of an expanding universe is neither static nor bounded by external constraints. It's a dynamic, self-organizing system that creates its own structure through the process of expansion itself. Each new region of space that comes into existence brings with it new topological possibilities, new ways for the cosmic network to connect and interact. This perspective doesn't definitively answer what the universe expands into, but it suggests a different way of thinking about the question. Perhaps expansion is better understood as increasing connectivity rather than increasing size. The universe might be growing not larger, but more intricately connected, more capable of supporting complex relationships and interactions. As you contemplate this idea, consider how it might apply to your own existence. You are part of the cosmic network, connected to every other part through the fundamental forces of nature and the shared history of cosmic evolution. As the universe expands, creating new topological possibilities, it's creating new ways for you to be connected to the larger whole. There's something almost poetic about the fact that empty space has a temperature. The vacuum of the universe isn't at absolute zero, that theoretical point where all molecular motion ceases. Instead, it maintains a temperature of about 2.7 Kelvin, just a few degrees above absolute zero, warmed by the cosmic microwave background radiation left over from the Big Bang. This raises a fascinating question about cosmic expansion. As space grows and creates new vacuum, what temperature does this new emptiness have? Is new cosmic microwave background radiation being created along with new space? Or does the expansion dilute the existing radiation, gradually cooling the universe toward true absolute zero? The answer reveals something profound about the nature of expansion. As space grows, the cosmic microwave background radiation is stretched and cooled, but the total energy content of this radiation remains constant. This means that the expansion is creating new vacuum at exactly the same temperature as the existing vacuum, maintaining the thermal equilibrium of empty space. Think about what this means for our central question. The universe isn't expanding into cold, dead nothingness. It's expanding into warm nothingness, vacuum that has the same thermal properties as the space that already exists. This suggests that the expansion process preserves certain fundamental characteristics of space-time, maintaining continuity even as new regions come into existence. Some interpretations suggest that this thermal continuity reveals something deep about the nature of existence itself. Perhaps the universe expands into states that are consistent with its own internal properties, creating new space that shares the characteristics of existing space. This is speculative territory, but it points toward a vision of expansion that's more like organic growth than mechanical increase. The universe might be expanding into versions of itself, creating new regions that are thermodynamically and quantum mechanically consistent with what already exists. As you sit in the warmth of your room, perhaps with a cup of tea cooling beside you, consider how the space around you participates in this cosmic thermal equilibrium. The vacuum between the atoms in your body, the air you breathe, the vast emptiness between stars, all of it shares the same fundamental temperature, all of it warmed by the ancient glow of creation itself. Perhaps the most beautiful way to understand what the universe expands into is through the metaphor of music. A symphony doesn't exist in some pre-existing acoustic space. The music creates its own temporal and harmonic space through the relationships between notes, rhythms, and silences. Similarly, space-time might expand not into some external medium, but into its own harmonic possibilities. The universe could be understood as a vast symphony of quantum fields, where expansion creates new opportunities for harmonic resonance, new ways for the fundamental frequencies of reality to interact and interfere. In this metaphor, dark energy becomes the conductor, setting the tempo of cosmic expansion. Matter and radiation are the instruments, creating melodies and harmonies within the expanding framework of space-time. Consciousness might be understood as the universe's capacity to listen to its own music, to appreciate the beauty of its own harmonic evolution. This isn't mere poetry or wishful thinking. The mathematics of quantum field theory actually describes reality in terms of harmonic oscillators, wave functions, and frequency spectra. The fundamental particles of nature can be understood as different modes of vibration in underlying quantum fields, much like different notes in a cosmic symphony. As space expands, it creates new opportunities for these quantum harmonies to unfold. New frequencies become possible, new resonances can emerge, new ways for the fundamental fields of nature to create complex, beautiful patterns. The expansion might be better understood as the universe composing new movements in its own infinite symphony. Take a moment to listen to the silence around you. Even in the quietest room, there are sounds. The hum of electricity, the whisper of air circulation, the distant murmur of the world beyond your walls. Now imagine that the space itself is musical, that the quantum fields filling every cubic centimetre are constantly creating their own subtle harmonies. As the universe expands, creating more space like the space around you, it's creating more opportunities for this quantum music to unfold. The expansion isn't into silence, but into new possibilities for cosmic symphony, new ways for reality to sing itself into existence. We've explored many perspectives on what the universe might be expanding into, but let's return to the central paradox that makes this question so fascinating and frustrating. How can something expand without expanding into something else? How can growth happen without a container to grow within? This paradox reveals something profound about the limitations of language and analogy when dealing with the deepest aspects of reality. Every word we use to describe expansion, growth, or increase is borrowed from our experience of finite objects within larger containers. But the universe, by definition, isn't a finite object within a larger container. It is the container. Consider how this parallels other fundamental paradoxes in physics and philosophy. How can something come from nothing? How can consciousness emerge from unconscious matter? How can mathematical relationships have physical effects? These questions all bump against the limits of our conceptual frameworks, revealing places where reality exceeds our ability to capture it. In familiar terms, the expansion paradox might be pointing toward a fundamental feature of existence itself. Reality is self-creating, self-defining, self-containing. It doesn't need external justification or support. It simply is, and part of what it is includes the capacity to grow, change, and evolve without requiring anything beyond itself. This isn't a failure of scientific explanation. It's a glimpse into the radical self-sufficiency of existence. The universe doesn't need permission to expand, doesn't need a pre-existing space to expand into, doesn't need external energy to fuel its growth. It creates these things as part of its own internal dynamics. As you contemplate this paradox, notice how it might reflect back on your own existence. You're a self-organizing pattern of matter and energy that maintains its structure and identity while constantly changing and growing. You don't exist in some external container called life or consciousness. You are life becoming conscious of itself, existence exploring its own possibilities. The same principle that allows you to exist as a coherent pattern while constantly changing might be what allows the universe to expand without expanding into anything external. Both are examples of reality's capacity for self-organization, self-maintenance, and self-transformation. As we near the end of our exploration, let's acknowledge something humbling and beautiful. There might be fundamental limits to what conscious beings can understand about the universe they inhabit. Just as there are event horizons around black holes beyond which no information can escape, there might be epistemological horizons beyond which no knowledge can reach. The question of what the universe expands into might be one of these fundamentally unknowable aspects of reality. Not because we lack the right instruments or theories, but because the question itself might be asking about something that exists beyond the boundaries of possible knowledge for beings like ourselves. This isn't a cause for despair or frustration. It's an invitation to a different kind of relationship with mystery. Instead of seeing unanswered questions as problems to be solved, we might learn to appreciate them as doorways into wonder, as reminders of the inexhaustible depth of existence. Consider how this changes your relationship to the cosmic expansion happening all around you. Instead of needing to know what it expands into, you might simply marvel at the fact that it expands at all, that reality has this capacity for growth and change built into its very foundation. The expansion of space is happening right now, in the room where you sit, in the space between the atoms in your body, in the vast distances between galaxies. It's one of the most fundamental features of the cosmos, and yet it remains one of the most mysterious. Perhaps that's exactly as it should be. Some of the most profound human experiences come from encounters with the unknowable, the feeling of looking up at the stars on a clear night, the sense of awe that arises when contemplating the age of the universe, the vertigo that comes from really grasping the scale of cosmic space and time. The question of what the universe expands into might be valuable precisely because it can't be definitively answered. It keeps us in touch with the mystery at the heart of existence, the inexhaustible depth of reality that ensures there will always be new questions to ask, new wonders to contemplate. As we bring our exploration to a gentle close, let's reflect on the strange and wonderful fact that conscious beings like ourselves can contemplate the expansion of the universe at all. You are made of particles that were forged in the hearts of ancient stars, organized into patterns complex enough to think about the cosmic processes that brought you into existence. In a very real sense, you are the universe becoming aware of its own expansion. The same physical processes that drive cosmic growth have, through billions of years of evolution, given rise to minds capable of questioning, wondering, and seeking to understand. This isn't separate from the expansion of space, it's part of it. Perhaps consciousness and cosmic expansion are both expressions of something more fundamental. Reality's inexhaustible creativity, its endless capacity to explore new possibilities and bring new forms of existence into being. As space expands, creating new room for stars, planets, and life, it's also. This remains deeply speculative, with no scientific consensus, creating new opportunities for awareness, understanding, and wonder, supporting direct connections between consciousness and cosmological processes. But there's something poetically resonant about the idea that the universe's physical expansion and its expansion of self-awareness might be related phenomena. As you breathe quietly and let these ideas settle, notice how this cosmic perspective might shift your sense of your place in the grand scheme of things. You're not a tiny, insignificant speck in a vast, uncaring universe. You're a way that the universe has developed to understand itself, to appreciate its own beauty and mystery. The expansion happening all around you isn't something foreign or distant. It's the backdrop against which your own existence unfolds, the stage that makes possible every thought, every feeling, every moment of awareness you've ever experienced. And perhaps that's the most profound answer to our central question. The universe might not expand into anything external to itself, because it doesn't need to. It expands into its own increasing capacity for beauty, complexity, consciousness, and wonder. It expands into new ways of being itself. So where does this leave us with our original question? What is the universe expanding into? After exploring mathematical frameworks, physical theories, philosophical paradoxes, and speculative possibilities, we find ourselves in a place that's both unsatisfying and deeply satisfying. Unsatisfying because we haven't found a simple, definitive answer that resolves the mystery once and for all. Satisfying because we've discovered that the mystery itself might be more profound and beautiful than any answer could be. The universe appears to expand into nothing external to itself. Yet this nothingness isn't empty or passive. It's the creative potential of existence itself, the inexhaustible capacity of reality to bring new possibilities into being. Space grows not into some pre-existing container, but into its own expanding web of connections, relationships, and opportunities for structure and awareness. We've seen how this expansion creates new quantum possibilities, new topological connections, new harmonic resonances in the symphony of existence. We've contemplated how it might be related to the growth of consciousness and understanding, how the universe's physical expansion might be connected to its expansion of self-awareness. Most importantly, we've discovered that living with mystery doesn't diminish our understanding, it deepens it. The question of what the universe expands into has led us to explore the nature of infinity, consciousness, creativity, and existence itself. The journey has been more valuable than any destination. As you prepare to return to your daily life, carry with you this sense of cosmic wonder. The space around you is part of the expanding fabric of reality, participating in the universe's endless exploration of its own possibilities. Every breath you take, every thought you think, every moment of awareness you experience is part of this grand cosmic dance. The expansion continues as it has for nearly 14 billion years, creating new space, new time, new opportunities for beauty and complexity to emerge. And somewhere within this expanding cosmos, conscious beings like yourself continue to wonder, to question, to seek understanding of the mystery they're embedded within. Perhaps that's the most beautiful part of all. The universe doesn't just expand into abstract nothingness. It expands into the questions we ask about it, the wonder we feel when contemplating it, the awe that arises when we truly grasp our place within it. The mystery remains as profound and beautiful as ever, and that might be exactly as it should be. If tonight's journey through the expanding cosmos has stirred something deep in your imagination, you might find yourself drawn to another mystery that touches the very foundations of reality itself. There's a story about a brilliant physicist who discovered something so fundamental about the structure of existence that she simply vanished from the scientific community entirely, leaving behind only cryptic notes about a discovery that could change everything we think we know about the nature of reality. That story is waiting for you in She Discovered the Universe's Source Code, then vanished, a mystery that will challenge not just your understanding of physics, but the very meaning of existence itself. Until our paths cross again in the vast expanding cosmos, may you find wonder in the questions that have no easy answers, and peace in the mystery that surrounds us all. There's something almost mystical about discovering that the space around you right now is more alive than you ever imagined. As you sit listening to these words, the vacuum between the atoms in your body isn't truly empty. It's a seething ocean of quantum possibilities where particles flicker in and out of existence faster than thought itself. This quantum foam, as physicists call it, reveals that even nothingness has structure. Virtual particles appear and disappear in time frames so brief they challenge our understanding of existence itself. They're called virtual, not because they're imaginary, but because they exist in the spaces between certainty and impossibility, in the gaps where classical physics breaks down and something more mysterious takes over. As you breathe gently and let this idea settle, consider what happens to this quantum activity when space expands. When the universe creates new volume, it's not just making room for things to spread out. It's creating new arenas for these quantum dances to unfold. New stages where virtual particles can perform their brief, impossible ballets. Some interpretations suggest, though this remains highly speculative, that consciousness itself might be woven into this quantum fabric in ways we're only beginning to glimpse. Not that your thoughts create virtual particles or collapse wave functions, but that awareness itself might be one of the ways the universe explores its own quantum possibilities. This is not proven science, just a whisper of possibility at the edge of understanding. The Casimir effect demonstrates that this quantum foam isn't just theoretical. When two metal plates are placed incredibly close together in a vacuum, they experience a measurable force caused by the quantum activity of supposedly empty space. The plates are pushed together by an imbalance in virtual particle creation, proving that nothingness itself has energy and structure. Imagine what this means for cosmic expansion. As space grows, creating regions where no virtual particles have ever appeared, these new areas immediately begin their own quantum fluctuations. The expansion doesn't just create geometric space, it creates new opportunities for the universe to explore the boundary between existence and non-existence. This quantum creativity might be what the universe expands into. Not empty space, but empty possibility. Each new cubic centimetre of spacetime that comes into being brings with it the full richness of quantum potential. New ways for particles to appear and disappear, new patterns of energy and information to emerge from the quantum vacuum. Take a moment to feel the strangeness of your situation. You exist as a stable pattern in an ocean of quantum uncertainty, an island of coherent matter in a sea of virtual possibilities. And all around you, space continues to expand, creating more room for this quantum creativity to unfold. Let's venture into territory where physics meets the deepest questions about the nature of mind and awareness. There's a curious parallel between the expansion of the universe and the expansion of consciousness that might, though this remains entirely speculative, reveal something profound about the nature of existence itself. Consider your own awareness right now. You're conscious not just of these words, but of the space around you, the sensations in your body, the thoughts arising and passing in your mind. Your consciousness seems to have a kind of volume, an experiential space that can expand or contract depending on your state of attention. When you're deeply focused, your awareness might feel narrow and concentrated. When you're in a state of open awareness, perhaps during meditation or quiet contemplation, your consciousness might feel expansive, boundless, as if it extends beyond the physical boundaries of your body. This expansion of awareness happens without expanding into anything external to consciousness itself. Your mind doesn't need a pre-existing mental space to become more expansive. It simply opens into its own inherent spaciousness, much like how the universe might expand into its own inherent possibility. Some contemplative traditions have long suggested that consciousness is not produced by the brain, but rather that the brain might be more like a receiver or focusing mechanism for a more fundamental awareness. This remains far from scientific consensus and should be understood as speculative philosophy rather than established fact. But if we entertain this possibility metaphorically, it might offer an interesting perspective on cosmic expansion. Perhaps the universe expands into its own inherent awareness, its own capacity to know and experience itself through conscious beings like yourself. This would mean that as space grows, creating new regions and new possibilities, it's also creating new opportunities for consciousness to emerge and explore reality from different perspectives. The expansion wouldn't just be physical, it would be experiential, creating new ways for the universe to be aware of its own existence. As you listen to these words, notice how your awareness naturally expands and contracts. Sometimes you're focused narrowly on the meaning of specific sentences. Other times, your attention opens to include the sounds around you, the feeling of your body, the sense of space extending in all directions. This dance of expanding and contracting awareness might be a microcosm of something happening on a cosmic scale. Each conscious being, each moment of awareness, each expansion of understanding might be the universe exploring new ways to experience itself. There's a growing suspicion among physicists that information, not matter or energy, might be the most fundamental ingredient of reality. This perspective, known as it from bit, suggests that physical properties emerge from more basic informational relationships, like a vast cosmic computation unfolding across space and time. If this view is correct, then the expansion of the universe takes on an entirely different character. Space wouldn't be expanding into empty volume, but rather into new configurations of information, new ways for reality to encode and process the relationships that define existence. Think of it like this. Imagine reality as a vast, evolving database where every particle, every force, every interaction is actually a piece of information being processed and updated continuously. As the universe expands, it's not just creating more storage space, it's creating more computational capacity, more ways to process the infinite complexity of existence. This information theoretic view suggests that what we experience as physical space and time might be emergent properties of underlying informational relationships, much like how the image on your computer screen emerges from patterns of binary code. The pixels aren't fundamental, the code is. From this perspective, the expansion of space might be better understood as the universe increasing its computational power, developing new ways to process information about its own state and possibilities. Each new region of spacetime that comes into existence brings with it new capacity for information processing, new ways for reality to know itself. The quantum mechanics that governs the smallest scales of reality is fundamentally informational. Quantum states are described by information about probabilities, not definite properties. When quantum systems interact, they exchange information rather than exchanging substances in the classical sense. As you contemplate this possibility, consider your own relationship to information. Your consciousness is constantly processing information about your environment, your body, your thoughts and emotions. In a very real sense, you are an information processing system that has become aware of its own processing. If the universe is fundamentally informational, then your consciousness might be one of the ways reality processes information about itself. Your thoughts, perceptions, and experiences might be part of the universe's vast computational project, its ongoing effort to understand and explore its own possibilities. The expansion of space from this view creates new opportunities for information processing, new ways for the cosmic computation to unfold. As the universe grows, it develops greater capacity to know itself, to explore its own potential, to process the infinite complexity of its own existence. This remains highly speculative territory, where established physics meets cutting-edge theory and philosophical speculation, but it offers a compelling framework for understanding why the universe might expand without needing anything external to expand into. It expands into new computational possibilities, new ways to process information about its own evolving state. Let's explore one of the most mind-bending possibilities about cosmic expansion. What if the universe is actually finite, but unbounded like the surface of a sphere, and what we interpret as expansion is actually part of a vast cosmic cycle? Some models suggest that space might curve back on itself in ways we can't directly detect. If you could travel far enough in a straight line, you might eventually return to your starting point. Like an ant walking around the surface of a balloon. The universe would be finite in volume but have no edge, no boundary where space suddenly stops. In such a universe, expansion might not be growth in the usual sense, but rather a phase in a cosmic breathing cycle. The universe might expand for billions of years, reach a maximum size, then contract back toward a new beginning. This would mean that expansion isn't into anything external, but rather part of an internal rhythm, like the heartbeat of existence itself. This cyclical view has deep roots in both scientific speculation and philosophical tradition. Ancient traditions often describe time and existence as cyclical rather than linear, with cycles of creation and dissolution repeating endlessly. Modern physics has found mathematical models that describe such cyclical universes, though they remain highly speculative. If the universe is cyclical, then the expansion we observe might be like the inhale phase of cosmic breathing. Space stretches and grows, creating room for stars, galaxies, and consciousness to emerge and evolve. Eventually, this expansion might reverse, and space would begin contracting, drawing everything back together toward a new cosmic beginning. This doesn't require the universe to expand into anything external. Instead, expansion and contraction would be intrinsic properties of space-time itself, like the natural rhythm of existence exploring its own possibilities through cycles of growth and renewal. Take a moment to notice your own breathing as you listen to these words. Each inhale creates space in your lungs, each exhale releases that space. Your breathing doesn't happen into some external medium, it's an internal process that sustains your existence. Perhaps cosmic expansion works in a similar way, creating and releasing space as part of existence's natural rhythm. Some interpretations suggest, though this remains far from scientific consensus, that consciousness itself might participate in these cosmic cycles. Each cycle might create new opportunities for awareness to emerge, evolve, and explore reality from countless perspectives before returning to the source for renewal. If this cyclical view is correct, then we're living during one phase of an infinitely repeating cosmic dance. The expansion happening all around you has happened before and will happen again, part of existence's eternal exploration of its own infinite possibilities. There's a strange symmetry at the heart of quantum mechanics that might illuminate what the universe expands into. At the quantum scale, particles exist in superposition until they're observed or measured. They're not in definite states, but rather in ghostly combinations of all possible states simultaneously. When observation occurs, this superposition collapses into a single, definite outcome. But here's what's fascinating. The act of observation doesn't just reveal pre-existing properties, it participates in creating the reality that gets observed. This isn't mysticism, it's established quantum mechanics, though interpretations of what it means remain controversial. Some interpretations suggest, and this is highly speculative, that consciousness and cosmic expansion might be related phenomena. As the universe expands, creating new possibilities for observation and measurement, it might be continuously collapsing quantum superpositions into definite realities. This would mean that expansion isn't just creating more space, it's creating more opportunities for quantum possibilities to become actualized realities. Each new region of space-time brings with it new quantum systems that can be observed, measured, and collapsed from superposition into definite states. From this perspective, conscious observers like yourself aren't separate from the cosmic expansion process, you're part of it. Your ability to observe and measure quantum systems, might be one of the ways the universe actualizes its own quantum possibilities. This is not to suggest that your personal consciousness directly collapses wave functions or controls quantum events. Rather, it's that consciousness in general, as a phenomenon that can observe and measure, might be part of how the universe transforms quantum possibilities into classical realities. As you listen to these words, quantum processes are occurring throughout your brain and body. Neurons are firing based on quantum mechanical processes. Thoughts are arising from quantum computations in your neural networks. You are, in a very real sense, a quantum information processing system that has become aware of its own processing. The expansion of space creates new opportunities for such quantum consciousness to emerge and evolve. More space means more possibilities for complex structures, like brains and minds, to develop. More ways for the universe to observe and measure its own quantum states. This remains deeply speculative territory, where quantum mechanics meets consciousness studies in ways that challenge our understanding of both. But it suggests a vision of cosmic expansion as fundamentally creative, continuously bringing new observers into existence who can actualize quantum possibilities into definite realities. Perhaps the universe expands into its own capacity for self-observation, creating new mirrors in which it can see and measure its own quantum nature. Each conscious being, each moment of observation, each measurement of a quantum system might be the universe exploring new ways to collapse its own superpositions into experienced reality. Let's venture into one of the most revolutionary ideas in modern physics, the holographic principle. This suggests that all the information contained in a volume of space can be encoded on its boundary, much like how a hologram stores three-dimensional images on a two-dimensional surface. If this principle applies to the entire universe, it suggests something extraordinary. Everything you experience as three-dimensional reality might actually be encoded as information on a distant two-dimensional boundary at the edge of the observable universe. You wouldn't be living inside a hologram in the science fiction sense, but rather experiencing the three-dimensional projection of information encoded elsewhere. This radically reframes our question about what the universe expands into. If our three-dimensional space is actually the projection of information encoded on a two-dimensional surface, then cosmic expansion might be better understood as the encoding of more information on this distant boundary. From this perspective, the growth of space wouldn't be geometric expansion, but rather informational expansion. The universe would be like a vast holographic display that's continuously encoding more complex information patterns, projecting them into the three-dimensional experience you inhabit. This might sound like science fiction, but it emerges from serious attempts to reconcile quantum mechanics with gravity, particularly in the study of black holes. The holographic principle helps resolve certain paradoxes about information and energy in gravitational systems. As you sit in your room, listening to these words, the holographic principle suggests that the spatial relationships you experience, the distance between objects, the volume of the space around you, might all be emergent properties of information being processed on a distant cosmic boundary. This doesn't make your experience less real or meaningful. The hologram analogy shouldn't be taken to mean that reality is illusory or artificial. Rather, it suggests that what we experience as space and matter might be different aspects of something more fundamental: the universe's capacity to encode and process information about its own state. If the holographic principle is correct, then cosmic expansion becomes a story about information rather than geometry. The universe expands into new ways of encoding information, new patterns that can be projected into three-dimensional experience, new ways for reality to represent its own complexity. Think of it like a cosmic computer that's continuously upgrading its processing power, encoding more sophisticated programs that manifest as the physical universe you experience. The expansion creates more computational capacity, more ways to run the complex calculations that generate stars, planets, and conscious observers. This remains highly speculative, with no consensus among physicists about whether the holographic principle applies to cosmology, but it illustrates how profoundly our understanding of space, expansion, and reality itself continues to evolve. As we approach the end of our journey through this cosmic mystery, let's contemplate what the future might hold for our expanding universe. The expansion that began nearly 14 billion years ago shows no signs of slowing down. In fact, it appears to be accelerating, driven by the mysterious dark energy that comprises roughly 70% of the universe's energy budget. If this acceleration continues indefinitely, it leads to scenarios that stretch the imagination. In the far future, the expansion of space might become so rapid that it overcomes all the forces that hold structures together. First, galaxy clusters would be torn apart, as the space between galaxies grows faster than gravity can pull them together. Then individual galaxies would dissolve, their stars scattered by the expanding space between them. Solar systems would be shredded, planets flung into the growing void. Eventually, even atoms themselves might be pulled apart by the expanding space between their components, leading to what cosmologists call the Big Rip. This remains highly speculative, dependent on the nature of dark energy and whether its effects continue to accelerate without limit. But it illustrates just how profound and mysterious the expansion of space really is. We don't just live in an expanding universe. We live in a universe where expansion itself might be the ultimate fate of everything that exists. Yet there's something beautiful about contemplating these vast timescales and cosmic possibilities. Even if the Big Rip scenario comes to pass, it wouldn't happen for many tens of billions of years, giving the universe ample time for countless generations of stars, planets, and perhaps conscious beings to emerge and explore the cosmos. And who knows what discoveries await? Our understanding of dark energy is still in its infancy. Future observations might reveal that the expansion behaves differently than we currently expect, leading to entirely different cosmic destinies. As you breathe quietly and let these cosmic timescales wash over you, consider how this deep future connects to your present moment. You exist during a remarkable epoch in cosmic history, when the universe is old enough for complex structures to have formed, but young enough for stars to still be shining brightly across the sky. The expansion happening all around you is part of a story that began before Earth existed and will continue long after our sun has burned out. Yet here you are in this brief moment of cosmic time, conscious and aware, able to contemplate the vast processes that brought you into existence and will carry the universe into its unknown future. There's one more perspective worth exploring as we near the end of our cosmic meditation: the possibility that the universe is fundamentally recursive, creating itself through its own expansion and evolution. This isn't established science, but rather a speculative framework that emerges from certain interpretations of quantum mechanics and cosmology. In this view, the universe doesn't expand into pre-existing space or time, but rather creates space and time through the process of expansion itself. It's a self-bootstrapping system, pulling itself into existence through its own internal dynamics, like a cosmic version of pulling yourself up by your own bootstraps. This recursive quality might extend to consciousness as well. Perhaps awareness doesn't emerge from complex matter, but rather matter emerges from the universe's capacity to be aware of itself. Consciousness wouldn't be produced by brains, but rather brains would be ways that consciousness organizes itself into patterns capable of complex thought and experience. If this recursive picture is correct, then you're not separate from the cosmic expansion you're contemplating. You are the expansion, at least in part. Your consciousness is one of the ways the universe explores its own expanding possibilities, one of the methods reality uses to understand its own growth and evolution. This perspective suggests that the question, What does the universe expand into might be based on a misunderstanding of how existence works. The universe doesn't expand into anything external because there is nothing external. It expands into itself, into its own possibilities, into new ways of being what it already is. Every thought you think, every moment of awareness you experience, every question you ask about the nature of reality might be the universe expanding into new ways of knowing itself. The cosmic expansion and the expansion of understanding might be different aspects of the same fundamental process. This remains deeply speculative territory, far from established scientific fact, but it offers a framework for understanding expansion that doesn't require external containers or pre-existing spaces. The universe is complete unto itself at every moment, needing nothing beyond its own creative capacity to grow and evolve. As you sit with this possibility, notice how it might shift your sense of your place in the cosmic order. You're not a tiny observer of vast cosmic processes happening around you. You're an integral part of those processes, a way that the universe observes and understands its own expansion. Take a breath and let yourself feel this connection. The expansion of space, the evolution of galaxies, the emergence of consciousness, the questions arising in your mind right now, all of it might be different aspects of existence exploring its own infinite creative potential. As our exploration draws toward its close, let's rest for a moment in a profound realization. Despite all the cosmic expansion happening around us, despite the billions of years of cosmic evolution and the vast scales of space and time we've contemplated, there's only ever this moment. All of cosmic history, from the first instant after the Big Bang to the formation of the first stars, from the birth of our solar system to the evolution of life on Earth, from the emergence of consciousness to this very moment of listening and understanding, all of it exists only now, in the eternal present of your immediate experience. This isn't a denial of the reality of cosmic time or the expansion of space. It's in recognition that time and expansion are concepts that arise within consciousness, ways that awareness organizes its experience of existence. The expansion of the universe is real, but it's real only insofar as it's experienced or understood in this timeless moment of awareness. Some contemplative traditions have long suggested that the present moment is not a point in time, but rather the timeless space in which all experience unfolds. Past and future, near and far, small and large, all of these are conceptual frameworks that appear within the infinite spaciousness of present moment awareness. If this perspective has validity, then the universe doesn't expand in time, but rather time and expansion are appearances within the universe's eternal self-awareness. The cosmic expansion you've been contemplating exists only in this moment, as a present understanding arising in present awareness. This doesn't diminish the reality or importance of cosmic expansion. If anything, it makes it more immediate and intimate. The expansion of space isn't something happening out there in distant galaxies. It's something happening right here, right now, in the very awareness that's contemplating it. As you listen to these words, notice the spaciousness of your own awareness. Your consciousness seems to have room for thoughts, sensations, perceptions, emotions. It's like a vast inner space in which all experience appears and disappears. This inner spaciousness might be more fundamental than the outer spaciousness of cosmic expansion. Perhaps the universe expands into the same kind of aware spaciousness that you experience right now, as the background of all your thoughts and perceptions. This is speculative territory, where physics meets contemplative philosophy, where scientific understanding touches the mystery of consciousness itself. But it suggests that the expansion of the universe and the expansion of awareness might be intimately connected, different ways that existence explores its own infinite depth. We've journeyed together through mathematical frameworks and physical theories, philosophical paradoxes, and speculative possibilities. We've explored quantum foam and holographic boundaries, cyclical universes, and recursive realities. And now, as our exploration reaches its natural resting place, we find ourselves returning to where we began, but with deeper appreciation for the mystery we've been contemplating. The question of what the universe expands into has revealed itself to be more than just a cosmological puzzle. It's a doorway into the deepest mysteries of existence itself, the nature of space and time, the relationship between consciousness and cosmos, the creative dynamics that bring reality into being moment by moment. Perhaps the most profound discovery of our journey is that the question itself might be its own answer. By asking what the universe expands into, we've discovered that the universe expands into the very capacity to ask such questions. It expands into consciousness, into awareness, into the ability to contemplate its own expansion. You, sitting here right now, listening to these words and contemplating these cosmic mysteries, you are what the universe expands into. Not in some grandiose or mystical sense, but in the most literal way possible. The expansion of space over billions of years has created the conditions that made your existence possible. The universe has expanded into the possibility of having conscious observers who can wonder about expansion itself. This doesn't solve the mystery, but it transforms it. The universe doesn't need to expand into some external container, because it expands into its own increasing capacity for self-awareness, self-understanding, self-appreciation. Every conscious being, every moment of wonder, every question about the nature of existence is the universe exploring what it means to be. As you prepare to return to your daily life, carry with you this sense of cosmic intimacy. You're not separate from the expanding universe you've been contemplating. You are that expansion, expressing itself as conscious awareness, capable of wonder and understanding. The space around you continues to grow, creating new possibilities for structure, complexity, and consciousness to emerge. The expansion that began nearly 14 billion years ago continues in this very moment, carrying you and everything you've ever known into an open future, full of possibilities we can't yet imagine. And perhaps that's the most beautiful answer of all. The universe expands into the unknown, into the not yet imagined, into the endless creativity of existence itself. It expands into questions we haven't thought to ask, discoveries we haven't made, forms of consciousness and awareness that haven't yet emerged. The mystery remains as profound and beautiful as ever. And in that mystery, in that endless capacity for surprise and wonder, we find not an answer to our question, but something far more precious. An invitation to keep questioning, keep wondering, keep participating in existence's endless exploration of its own infinite possibilities. The expansion continues, as it always has and always will, carrying us all toward horizons we can barely imagine. But that's not the end of the cosmic story. There are other mysteries woven into the fabric of reality itself, puzzles that challenge everything we think we know about the nature of existence. If tonight's journey has awakened your curiosity about the deepest secrets of the cosmos, you might find yourself captivated by another story that touches the very foundations of reality itself. There's a tale about a brilliant physicist who discovered something so fundamental about the structure of existence that she simply vanished from the scientific community entirely, leaving behind only cryptic notes about a discovery that could change everything. That mystery awaits you in She Discovered the Universe's Source Code, then Vanished, a story that will challenge not just your understanding of physics, but the very meaning of reality itself. Until we meet again in the vast, expanding cosmos of questions and wonder, may you find peace in the mystery that surrounds us all. As you settle deeper into the quiet mystery of cosmic expansion, let's explore something that might seem impossible at first glance. Imagine standing between two perfectly parallel mirrors, creating an infinite corridor of reflections stretching in both directions. Each reflection contains all the others, yet each is also complete unto itself. This might be closer to how reality actually works than our everyday intuitions suggest. The universe we've been contemplating might not be expanding into empty space, but rather into infinite recursive layers of itself. Not in some mystical sense, but as a consequence of the mathematical structure of space-time. When general relativity describes the curvature of space, it's describing how reality bends back on itself, creating loops and connections that defy our linear thinking. Consider how this might apply to the expansion we observe. As space grows, it doesn't just create more room for galaxies to drift apart. It creates more ways for space-time to fold and connect with itself. Each new region of space that comes into existence might contain within it the potential for all other regions, like a cosmic hologram where every part contains the whole. This isn't science fiction or wishful thinking. It emerges from the mathematical description of space-time in general relativity, where the geometry of space can curve back on itself in ways that create closed loops through higher dimensions. These solutions to Einstein's equations suggest that the universe might be far more interconnected than it appears on the surface. As you breathe quietly and let this settle into your awareness, consider what this might mean for your own existence. If space is truly recursive, folding back on itself through dimensions we can't directly perceive, then you're not just connected to distant galaxies through the expansion of space. You might be connected to them through the very geometry of existence itself. Some interpretations suggest, though this remains highly speculative, that consciousness might participate in this recursive structure. Your awareness of distant stars and galaxies might not be separate from their physical existence, but rather part of how the universe creates recursive connections between all its parts through the medium of conscious observation. Take a moment to notice how your awareness naturally creates this kind of recursive loop. You're conscious of being conscious, aware of your own awareness. This self-referential quality of mind might reflect something fundamental about the structure of reality itself. There's something deeply soothing about discovering that the universe might breathe in much the same way you do. As you inhale, creating space in your lungs, and exhale, releasing that space back to the air around you. The cosmos itself might be engaged in a similar rhythm on the grandest possible scale. Some cosmological models suggest that what we observe as expansion might be just one phase of a cosmic breathing cycle. The universe inhales for billions of years, space stretching and growing, galaxies drifting apart, stars being born in the expanding void. Then eventually, it might begin to exhale, space contracting, matter drawing back together, preparing for a new cosmic breath. This cyclical view doesn't require the universe to expand into anything external. Just as your breathing creates and releases space within your own body without needing to breathe into some separate realm, cosmic breathing would be an internal process of space-time itself. The mathematics of such cyclical universes are elegant and surprisingly simple. They describe space-time as having a natural rhythm, expanding and contracting according to its own internal dynamics. Each cycle might last hundreds of billions of years, giving ample time for stars, planets, and consciousness to emerge and evolve before the next phase begins. What's particularly beautiful about this model is how it resolves the question of cosmic origins. Instead of asking what came before the Big Bang, we might ask what phase of the breathing cycle it represented. Perhaps the Big Bang was simply the universe beginning a new inhale after a long period of cosmic exhalation. As you listen to these words, notice your own breath moving in and out. Each breath is complete in itself, yet part of a larger rhythm that sustains your existence. Your breathing doesn't happen into external space, it's an internal process that creates and releases space within your body as needed. Perhaps the cosmic expansion we observe works in exactly the same way. Space expands not into some external container, but as part of existence's natural rhythm of self-renewal. The universe breathes space into being, sustains it for eons, then breathes it back into potential, preparing for the next cosmic breath. This remains speculative territory with no definitive evidence for cosmic cycles, but it offers a vision of expansion that feels organic rather than mechanical, rhythmic rather than linear. The universe is a vast breathing organism, creating and releasing space in accordance with its own internal needs and rhythms. If you're feeling sleepy as you contemplate this cosmic breathing, that's perfectly natural. Let yourself drift with the rhythm of your own breath, knowing that it participates in the same creative process that fills the cosmos with space and time. Let's venture into one final perspective on what the universe might be expanding into, a view that emerges from the strangest corners of quantum mechanics. Imagine reality as a vast garden where possibilities grow like seeds into actualized experiences. This quantum garden doesn't exist in space. It is space, continuously growing and blooming with new potential. At the quantum level, particles don't have definite properties until they're observed or measured. They exist in what physicists call superposition, ghostly combinations of all possible states simultaneously. When observation occurs, this superposition collapses into a single, definite outcome, like a quantum seed suddenly blooming into classical reality. As space expands, it creates new soil for this quantum garden, new opportunities for superpositions to emerge and collapse into definite states. Each new region of space-time that comes into existence brings with it the full richness of quantum possibility, ready to bloom into actual experience when the conditions are right. This perspective suggests that the universe expands into its own quantum potential, creating more room for possibilities to become realities. The expansion isn't geometric so much as it is creative, generating new spaces where quantum seeds can grow into the structures we observe: atoms, molecules, stars, planets, and ultimately conscious beings capable of observing the garden itself. Some interpretations suggest, though this remains entirely speculative, that consciousness might play a role in this quantum gardening process. Not that your thoughts directly control quantum events, but that awareness itself might be one of the ways quantum possibilities collapse into definite realities. This isn't to suggest that you can manifest reality through positive thinking or that consciousness creates the physical world. Rather, it's that consciousness and quantum mechanics might be different aspects of the same fundamental process by which potential becomes actual, possibility becomes experience. As you sit in quiet contemplation, notice how your own awareness seems to have this quality of collapsing possibilities into definite experiences. One moment your attention might be open to many possible thoughts or sensations. The next moment, a specific thought or feeling emerges into clear focus, like a quantum superposition collapsing into a definite state. The quantum garden of space-time might work in a similar way, with consciousness serving as one of the mechanisms by which the universe transforms its own quantum potential into experienced reality. Each conscious being, each moment of observation, each collapse of a quantum superposition might be the universe tending its own garden, cultivating new realities from the infinite field of possibility. This remains deeply speculative, far from established science, but it offers a vision of cosmic expansion as fundamentally creative and conscious, with awareness playing an integral role in how reality unfolds from moment to moment. Take a breath and let yourself rest in this possibility. The space around you might be alive with quantum potential, ready to bloom into new realities through the mysterious interaction between consciousness and the fundamental structure of existence. We've reached the gentle end of our cosmic meditation, having explored the deepest mystery of existence from every angle we could imagine. The universe continues, but perhaps that's exactly its expansion into territories we can barely comprehend, carrying all as it should be, in a cosmos yet in vision, of us toward futures we can't, where space itself grows and evolves, where consciousness emerges from quantum gardens, where reality breathes like a living organism. Mystery isn't a problem to be solved, but a gift to be cherished. As you prepare to return to your daily life, know that you carry within you the same creative force that expands the cosmos. The same quantum fields that fill intergalactic space also fill the space between your atoms. The same space-time that bends around distant galaxies also curves gently around your own body. If tonight's journey through the expanding cosmos has awakened something deep in your imagination, you might find yourself drawn to another mystery that touches the very source code of reality itself. There's a story about a brilliant physicist who discovered something so simply vanished from the scientific community, entirely fundamental about the structure of existence, that she, leaving behind only cryptic equations that could change everything we think we know about the nature of reality, that mystery awaits you in She Discovered the Universe's Source Code, Then Vanished, a story that will challenge not just your understanding of physics, but the very meaning of existence itself. Until we meet again in the vast, expanding tapestry of questions and wonder, may you find peace in the mystery that surrounds us all, and rest well in your corner of the breathing cosmos. In the deepest quiet of intergalactic space, where no sound has ever travelled and no ear has ever listened, something extraordinary is happening. The vacuum itself is singing, vibrating with frequencies we can measure but never hear, resonating with the fundamental harmonics of existence itself. And as the universe expands, creating more of this singing silence, it's composing new movements in a cosmic symphony that began nearly 14 billion years ago. As you settle deeper into your own quiet space tonight, perhaps you can sense something of this cosmic music in the silence around you. Not actual sound, of course, but the subtle presence of space itself, humming with invisible activity, pulsing with energies that existed long before sound waves had any medium to travel through. The expansion we've been contemplating isn't just creating more emptiness, it's creating more opportunity for this fundamental music of existence to unfold. Each new cubic centimetre of space that comes into being carries with it the same harmonic potential as every other region, the same capacity to vibrate with the deep frequencies that underlie all physical phenomena. This isn't metaphorical language dressed up as science. The quantum fields that fill every region of space genuinely oscillate at specific frequencies, creating what physicists call zero-point energy. Even at absolute zero temperature, these quantum oscillations continue, like cosmic strings vibrating in dimensions we can barely imagine. As you listen to these words, take a moment to appreciate the silence between them. That silence isn't empty, it's full of potential, ready to carry the next word, the next idea, the next moment of understanding. The expanding universe might work in a similar way, creating more silence that's pregnant with possibility, more space for the cosmic symphony to explore new harmonies and rhythms. Some interpretations suggest, though this remains entirely speculative, that consciousness itself might participate in this cosmic music. Not that your thoughts create vibrations in space-time, but that awareness might be naturally attuned to the fundamental frequencies of existence, capable of resonating with the deep harmonics that pervade the quantum vacuum. If you find yourself growing drowsy as you contemplate this cosmic symphony, let that be part of the experience. Sleep itself might be a way of tuning into these deeper rhythms, allowing consciousness to synchronize with the vast, slow pulses of cosmic expansion and renewal. Let's explore one final image that might illuminate what the universe expands into. Picture reality as an infinite ocean, not of water, but of pure becoming, pure potential for existence to manifest in countless forms. This ocean has no shores because it is everything that could possibly be, and the expansion we observe is like waves emerging from this ocean of possibility. Each wave represents a moment of actualization, a specific configuration of matter and energy emerging from the infinite field of potential. Stars, planets, galaxies, conscious beings, all of them are waves in this ocean of becoming, temporarily taking form before dissolving back into the source from which they arose. The expansion of space from this perspective is the ocean generating new waves, new opportunities for potential to actualize itself as experience. The universe doesn't expand into anything external because there is nothing external to this ocean of becoming. It is everything that is, everything that could be, everything that ever was. This image comes not from established physics, but from the intersection of contemplative philosophy and cosmological speculation. It offers a way of thinking about expansion that doesn't require external containers or pre-existing spaces. The ocean of becoming is self-generating, self-sustaining, self-exploring. As you rest in the quiet of your evening, notice how your own experience has this wave-like quality. Thoughts arise from silence and return to silence. Sensations appear in awareness and fade away. Even your sense of being a separate self might be more like a wave in the ocean of consciousness than a fixed, permanent entity. If this ocean metaphor resonates with you, it might suggest that your individual existence is not separate from the cosmic expansion we've been contemplating. You are one of the ways the universe explores its own potential, one of the waves through which the ocean of becoming knows itself. This remains purely speculative territory, where physics meets poetry and science touches the deepest questions about the nature of existence. But it offers a vision of cosmic expansion as fundamentally creative and meaningful, with each conscious being playing a unique role in the universe's ongoing exploration of its own infinite possibilities. Take a breath and let yourself feel held by this ocean of becoming. The expansion happening all around you isn't carrying you away from anything. It's carrying you deeper into the mystery of existence itself, into new territories of possibility that have never been explored before. So where does this leave us, drifting in the quiet of your evening, having travelled through the mathematics of infinity and the poetry of possibility? We set out to answer one simple question: what is the universe expanding into? And in our gentle exploration, we've discovered that the question itself might be its own answer. The universe expands into mystery itself, into the endless capacity for wonder that brought you to this moment of listening and contemplating. It expands into the very consciousness that can ask such questions, into awareness that can marvel at the strangeness of existence, into minds that can appreciate the beauty of not knowing. Perhaps that's the most profound realization of all. You are not separate from this cosmic expansion. You are what 14 billion years of stretching space-time has created, a way for the universe to contemplate its own growth, to wonder about its own boundaries, to rest in the peace of its own infinite mystery. As you prepare for sleep tonight, carry with you this sense of cosmic intimacy. The space around you continues to grow, gently creating new room for possibilities we can't yet imagine. And somewhere in that expanding tapestry of space and time, other minds like yours are asking the same beautiful, unanswerable questions. The mystery remains, as it should. And that's the gift the universe gives us. Not answers that close the door to wonder, but questions that keep it forever open. Answers that close the door to wonder, but questions that keep it forever open.